Good evening, everybody, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Super excited about my guest tonight because Dr. Rick Holland is not only a fantastic trumpet player, but also a dedicated teacher, and you know what? He's just a really swell guy. And I just realized that I used swell and you know, maybe that has aged me a little bit, but super excited about Rick. So Rick is based in West Michigan, but he is, you know, one of those people who has, well, I won't say he's been everywhere and done everything, but you know what? It's been pretty close. He's done a lot of stuff. He has played with some amazing musicians, including the Louie Bellson Big Band, Jimmy Dorsey, Hendrik Meurkens, Buddy Franco, Natalie Cole, the Terry Gibbs Big Band, and more. He's recorded over seven albums of as a leader, and his latest one, which is called Trilby, is just a really, really fantastic and very interesting approach because Rick features what's commonly referred to as a little big band. So it's, you know, that big band sound, but it's a smaller group of musicians. And I actually don't see a ton of people taking advantage of that kind of instrumentation, but Rick does it really well. He is a fantastic trumpet soloist. And, you know, he is one of those people who just has a really infectious persona, both musically and non-musically. As in, like, you know, his persona as an actual human. So Rick has maintained studios in Chicago, Michigan, and New York. And indeed, Rick holds many, many degrees from a variety of places, including, I believe, and Rick is going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, Michigan State University, which I believe is where his DMA is from. Please put your virtual hands together for the one, the only, the amazing Dr. Rick Holland.
Thank
you. Hey, Rick, how you doing?
That was quite an intro. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So I'm really, really thrilled to be speaking with you today. You know, you bring such a depth of experience to the West Michigan music landscape. And I think that when I had originally, you know, introduced you saying, well, he hasn't done everything and been everywhere, but I mean, let's be real. You've done your fair share of you know, exciting musical, you know, events. And so talk to me about this little big band thing. When did you get started in writing for that kind of a group, and why did you choose that kind of group?
Well, I've always wanted to lead a big band, but I just felt the smaller orchestration would work better because it's so hard to book any events these days with 17 people. When I started the little big band, it was just by accident. I ordered 30 charts or so on my Oswego education account for a camp that I was going to start in Oswego, New York, which, you know, we didn't have a ton of enrollment, so I wanted to scale down the big band to like a smaller group so that, you know, both faculty and students could play in it. So, and that went well. And then I was, you know, I heard the Bob Meyer wrote the charts for that one. And his arrangements were basically 6 horns. I wanted to go to 7 horns because I like the 2 trombones a lot better than the 1 trombone. the one trombone and guitar is the one that most books will advocate as far as writing. You don't see a lot of books advocating a 7-piece group. So coming by charts was slow in the beginning because we had to create our own. So I befriended Evan Dobbins in Rochester, New York. He's a fabulous trombone player, and I set out to I was talking to Hendrik Meurkens, who was a friend of mine, and we were talking about doing a little bit larger project. We had done a quintet project together, but we were talking about doing a little bit larger project with the 10-piece. So I composed. I had arrangements done by different people, featuring harmonica and flugelhorn and the 7-piece band. I liked the arrangements and the way they sounded so much that I just began going crazy on commissions, asking people if they would like to write for the band. Doing sort of high-profile gigs to pay for more arrangements. And now I have about 70 or 80 jazz arrangements, and I have about 40 or 50 vocal arrangements, and I have about 60 swing arrangements, and mostly East Coast swing. And I just like the sound of it. I like the I like it because it has just about all the things a big band would have, but it goes right to the heart of the there's not any doubling. There's not very much doubling in a 7-piece when you're a 7-piece context when you're writing. So every person, musicians tend to love to play this book because they feel like their part is important. They feel like every part, if I get a good writer who arranges, doesn't, range up and down, but ranges across, then there's just wonderful lines. And so we could create just about all the things we want in the 7-horn as it compared to the 17-piece band. So I love it, and I've done 2 records with the 10-piece band, actually 3 records if you count the Christmas album, and I want to do another one in the future. I want to do another vocal thing with my daughter, and I want to do another instrumental where I get some tunes that I really like to play, and right when the all that was peaking, I had a stroke, and it was kind of it was pretty challenging. It took me a year to get back to learning how to play the trumpet again, and then a couple years later, I had a cervical surgery, and I was in the hospital for 9 months. So it was just one complication after the other. It seemed like if any bad luck would happen, I seemed to get it. And so it's you have doing another record project. It takes time. It takes time for your playing to mature. After that, you have to grow back into your playing, your sound. Find the right instrument you like to play. Then you got to find the right musicians you would like to play with. And so what's brought me to West Michigan actually is I'm caring for my mom down here in Kalamazoo. She's elderly, and my wife and I do all the cooking. We do all the cleaning. We organize her meds. We take care of her doctor appointments. I'm actually on disability, as you can probably guess from the 2 hospital stints. So I'm retired now, and And so what I like to do is I like to teach a handful of students, and I'm looking for a handful more. And I just want to spread the gospel of music, and when this pandemic comes to an end, I want to start playing a little bit more up in Grand Rapids and incorporate some of the people I'm meeting there and into my projects, and we'll just see what happens.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Rick, I mean, you know, one of the things I love about you is that you are not one of these people who is this like a talker who is like, you know, by the way, did you know I have a doctorate from Michigan State University kind of a thing. Like you're such an easygoing guy. Is it cool if we just let your music speak for itself and play a cut off this record?
Sure, that'd be great.
Awesome. This is Stablemates, and it's one of my favorite tunes, and the band just kills it. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy hearing it.
And it's Doug Stone on soprano or alto.
So good. So good. Man, I don't know about all of you out there who are listening, but I just think that is just so good. And honestly, whenever I hear that tune, the vibe is such that it's just a tune that really energizes you. And I think that the arrangement is no exception. The playing of the band is stellar. Horns sound super tight. The soloists, I mean, just shredding over those changes. You know, and so just a really, really incredible thing going on. We did have a question come in, and I encourage all of our viewers to comment with questions. We'd be happy to answer them on the air. Don't worry, Rick's a really nice guy. He doesn't bite. And so, first of all, I just want to say that Speaking of Jazz is provided free of charge by the West Michigan Jazz Society. And if you can, please donate to help support our mission. We are hoping to bring great musicians back to our stages and to our gigs after the, you know, kind of in the near future. Great musicians like the ones we've been interviewing. For now, we're so excited to get to know many of them. We have this question from Jake. Where does the name Trilby come from on the record, Rick?
We had a arrangement done by Brent Wallarab, which he did a contrafact line over Alone Together and reharmonized it. And he named that tune Trilby. It's just like the Trilby hat, or he also, Brent, I guess, had a cat named Trilby. And so the cover.
So the cover art, yeah.
Yeah, the cover art incorporates both of that. And that was the, you know, one of the leading tunes on the record. So we entitled it Trilby.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great title for a record. It's so succinct and yet so I don't know. I think it's really cool. And the cat is wearing the hat. Yeah. I now correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I've seen you wear a hat like that before, Rick.
Yeah,
I think you might have one or two around.
Yeah, I love my hats.
Yeah, and you know, you wear them quite well. Speaking of hats, you wear a lot of different hats as a musician, and one of those is the teacher hat. And you mentioned earlier that you do have some private students, and you've taught collegiately, and I believe, have you done some K-12 as well?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, and you're you know, you got here relatively short time ago, but you've just been this in-demand clinician. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you, where does this love of teaching come from? And correct me if I'm wrong, because, I mean, I would imagine that, you know, it is something that you do enjoy doing. So where does the love of teaching come from?
Well, you just got to generally really like people. You got to really believe that that if they're coming for lessons, that they sincerely want to learn. You know, I can only teach so many students because my disability, you know, only allows me to make so much money. So, so the students I have right now happen to be just great bunch of kids. I've got a couple retired band directors. I've got a housewife who's come back to play trumpet, and she's playing in her community band. Then I have you know, some players from Greg Wells' program, some players from Comstock Park, and some players from Mark Lego, some players from Jeremy Root, and I just did a clinic down in Three Rivers, and so next year we're hoping for a couple of Three Rivers kids to come by. I generally like teaching. Before I teach jazz to anybody, I like to make sure they're really square on the trumpet first.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like if you're not a good trumpet player, you're not ever really going to be a good jazz player. So that's one reason I went back to MSU to get a DMA, because I really wanted to have at least one degree where I played through all the trumpet repertoire.
Yeah.
And they required me to do 6 or 7 recitals, so I played just about every major piece. And they got better as I went along. So by the last recital, I was playing the Tomasi Concerto, Tomasi Triptyque, and the Jolivet and things like that. And I really worked hard. That degree just about killed me. I had a lot of students at the time, and I had a really heavy course load, and I had the recitals to do. And the recitals were frankly really intimidating as I got toward the end, because the pieces were a lot harder.
Yeah.
So I mean, playing the Haydn is one thing, but playing Jolivet is a whole different thing.
Oh, without a doubt.
Playing the UNESCO Legend is a whole nother thing. Playing a Halsey Stevens is a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really concentrated on working. I felt like I had the perfect teacher for me, because he broke down things the way I like to break things down. So I have I have 20 minutes for my sound. I have 20 minutes for my flexibility. I have 20 minutes for my articulation, and then I have etudes, and then I have etudes, or what, like now it's etudes, but then it was etudes, and then pieces I play, and then if there's any time left, I would practice my jazz. And of course, during that time, I didn't get a chance to practice a lot of jazz. I just didn't get a chance to, but it didn't hurt me. It didn't help. It didn't stop me from growing. I just felt like whenever you grow at music, whenever you're really committed to being the best you can be, no matter what musical genre you're working on, it helps everything you do. So I like to take that into my teaching. I like to help the kids play the trumpet first. I like them to get to know standard etude books. And then if I have, like, I teach saxophone players too, and trombone players too. And so with them, with the saxophone players, what I do is I like to do these chord extension exercises where it takes them all the way to the lower part of the horn, the B flat, and they go all the way up to the altissimo register, playing all 7 chord types through all keys. And I like them to play really metrical. And I feel like, like I've seen a couple of the saxophone method books that have come out recently, and they're basically just what I teach. They're emphasizing the alto player to connect the high range with the low range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I didn't know I was teaching right, but see, I taught Carl Cafagna, and I taught I can't remember this kid's name. He went to the University of Miami, and man, he's a great player. But I've had success teaching saxophonists, by really helping them with their altissimo register using this exercise. So I don't really know how to tell a saxophone player how to play an altissimo. I don't know how to really tell a saxophone player how to play in the low register when they're, trying to get the low note and the high note comes out. I mean, I don't know the specific answer, but I know that the pedagogy that I use for that seems to help them a lot. And so I teach my trumpet players. I teach a young saxophone player at Northview High School, which is a really good jazz program, by the way. And so I mean, Greg Wells is doing a great job there. So I'm really happy to be a part of Greg's program. I'm glad he lets me teach his kids. I'm just, you know, I'm just glad to be a part of what he's doing. And you know, Jordan, that's just basically it. You got to love the kids in order to, and then love the music. If you want to teach kids, if you don't really like kids, and if you don't really like, you know, being detailed in your music discipline and stuff like that, teaching is not for you. I mean, you genuinely have to really like kids and like people. And if you don't, I don't know. I really like my studio right now. I like everybody in it. I think everybody's doing a great job. And that's basically what I got.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there are a lot of people who find out exactly what you're saying kind of the hard way. Maybe there are musicians who are kind of, and you know what? Maybe this is kind of an unfair thing to say, but I feel like there are a lot of musicians out there who are like, all right, cool, I need to make some extra bread, so I guess I'll teach.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't really put their heart into it like you do. And like hearing you talk about, you know, how you feel about your students and these great programs that you get to work with. Yeah, I know Greg, he's awesome. You know, the Northview program has been fantastic for a while, and Greg is doing such a great job, like, keeping that going. Shout out to you, Greg Wells, if you're out there at some point. Anyway, you know, I just think that, like, some people just tend to find that out the hard way. And at one point, I kind of feel bad for them. But at another, like, teaching is something you choose. It's not something you do when you, like, you know, fail at something else or fall back on something else. So, you know, the very fact that you've chosen it and have gone after it with, like, just your whole heart is just such a great thing. And I know you're making a difference. And that's such a cool thing to see.
I hope so. I wonder about that every day, you know. All you can do is give what you have, and give all you have. You've got to sort of lay it out there. You got to lay your soul out there. They've got to be able to see you. They got to see you. I mean, no matter what piece is being played, no matter what etude is being taught, no matter, you know, what piece of music it is, I mean, I have to be able to play it. And if I can't be a good model when I play the pieces, the etudes or the, you know, the Haydns or whatever, then, you know, ultimately I'm not going to be a really effective teacher, because if I can't do it, I can't tell them how to do it. That's why my jazz thing is really organized. I'm not the I don't think I'm the quintessential jazz musician. I don't think I'm, you know, on top of anybody's list.
I don't know what the quintessential jazz musician is. So if anybody finds out what that is, I want to know.
Yeah, well, I don't think of myself too highly, Jordan. I just think that, but if I'm being asked to teach that idiom, and I'm being asked to be responsible for somebody's outcome, then I've got to be able to have something to say. And so I try to help each student with some methodology that I've developed. I don't think my methodology is anything original or anything spectacular, but it, like, I use it to help people, and it helps me, and you know, that's it.
Man, if a hammer's been the same way for as long as it's been around, don't fix the hammer.
Yeah, right.
Or the hammer will fix you, you know, like, because I just think that, like, if it works, it works. And you know what? I think there are a lot of people out there who might want to, like, try to reinvent the wheel like 5 different times. And that's cool. Those people, they can go ahead and do that. But if the hammer works, then you know what? I think it's exactly as you said in the beginning. You're just spreading the gospel of music. You're spreading the you know, just this joy of playing, this joy of you know, being a part of this field that literally changes people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know, I think that's really cool. I mean, like, I tell my students the same thing, Rick. I'm like, I don't, like, my approach to playing the saxophone is not, it's not like, I'm not reinventing the thing and like saying like, you know, I invented reeds or like or how to, you know, make the reed vibrate. I didn't do that. But you know what? You know, like you, I've got my thing. It tends to work with students, and it helps students get methodical. And you know what? I find that that's what so many students need, because we are living in a world where they have everything at their fingertips. And that's cool to see on one hand, because it's like, you know what? I like when I was a kid, I went to the local library of all things, and I checked out like all the CDs that I could, and I just listened over and over and over again. And my students here, they're like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Oh, check out this record." They're like, "Oh, is that on Spotify? Is that on YouTube?" And I'm like, "I don't know, maybe."
Yeah, just about everything's on YouTube.
Yeah. And so like I quickly learned like, hey, you guys don't have to like, I mean, I remember like carrying grocery bags of CDs, you know, and then they'd break, and I'd be like, oh man, come on, seriously? Now I gotta owe the library money and all this thing. But like you know, and just the things are so different. And I think if you can show students like a methodical approach of like, do this thing, it will help, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's such a good thing to be able to do. And you know, the other thing I get from you, Rick, and I you know, I know you're saying you don't, you know, necessarily think terribly highly of yourself as a, you know, as a player, but I get warmth from you. And when students feel that, because they can all feel it and they can all tell, right? Students know when you care. And if students feel that warmth, I feel like they react to that too. And so with the combination of method and this warm interaction, I feel like, I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Well,
you know?
I mean, students will, they know if you can single tongue, they know if you can double tongue, they know if you have flexibility, they know how you articulate, they know if you can play the Chickowitz flow studies, they know if you can play Bosquet or any of the Arbon etudes, Charlier. They know because they could just listen to it and look at the music and listen to you play, and they can say, wow, he doesn't really sound good on that piece. Students know right away, actually, if you can actually play, and they know. I mean, I think I'm competent. I think that I'm a competent improviser. I think I'm a very competent classical player. I just what I was trying to say before is that, you know, I don't think too highly of myself because, you know, I mean. It seems like every time I've gone in any region, there's always a flurry of really great players. I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. It really doesn't. You can live where I lived in the boonies in New York, and there's guys that just play, you know, they just play so well. And guys in Buffalo and guys in Syracuse and guys in Albany and guys in New York City and guys in Boston and guys in Chicago. I mean, wherever I've gone, there's always great players. You can always find great players. You know, my little big band had Nick Fenzer.
Yeah, Nick.
it had Nick Spencer, Evan Dobbins, it had Jeff Ostrowski, who plays lead for Jersey Boys. It had
did Alexa Tarantino play in that group at some point?
No, but she used to play in the group. She just didn't record with us.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
She's great, man.
She's awesome. Yeah,
she's unbelievable. And I just listened to her concert last night, a sextet. She was raising money for something, and it was really. I mean, she was the best player in the group. So, I mean, I was in Rochester, and I got to know Bill Dobbins. I got to know Rich Thompson. I got to know this young bass player David Barron, who plays with Kenny Barron now. And it's like, geez, I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. If you can play, the good players will find you. If you can't play, good players aren't interested.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, good players will find you, and all you got to do when you go into any community, and I'm really glad that I could come back home for a little while and be with Mom. I'm I don't know if I will be here permanently or not, but I like the people here, and it's like when the things open up again, I want to play, and whoever will have me, and I want to form my own thing if I can do it, and I just want to be, I don't want to be the kingpin. I want to be a part of a community. I want to be a part of the musical community that I live in. I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to rock.
Yeah, I get it.
I want to be somebody who contributes. And,
that's what Mel Dalton always said that he wanted. Mm-hmm. Great Grand Rapids tenor player, a legend. And Mel always said, I don't want to be the person who's like stressed out booking the gig, and like, I just want to be the guy who's kind of like hanging out on the side, still playing, still killing it, but not the not the guy who's like, taking the fall should something go awry. That's too stressful, and
I don't mind. Yeah. I don't mind being the leader. I don't mind doing that, but I found like if you go into a community and you establish something a little too high profile, a little bit too quick, people will think that's all you want to do. You don't want to do anybody else's thing, and so I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that here. When I'm here, I want to be open to a few things here and there, and eventually, out of the groups I'm playing in, I want to create the little big band here. So I don't want to do that before I get established in the community. I want to make sure that I have the respect of the community that I live in.
Well, I mean, I am only one person, but I mean, word on the street is that there are a lot of people out there that really do respect you and respect what you're bringing to the area, and especially, I think people see your heart as a teacher, and they really think like, that translates really well to your to your playing and of course to being on the bandstand with you. So that I think goes a long way. It's funny because when you say all of these things about, playing music and, let's forget like labels right now. I mean, I know this is a Jazz Society thing, so maybe not forget labels too much, but I just think about, when you were saying like, yeah, I really like it. I like talking to my students about, just playing the trumpet, like just being able to play the trumpet and getting, in on those methods, playing Chikowitz flow studies and you know, and all of those other really, really great trumpet methods that actually, I mean, I steal a bunch of stuff from, believe it or not. But, you know, I just think about how the things about us as musicians, like we play different instruments, but realistically, the things about us that are the same are far greater than the things that are different.
Yeah.
And I really think that's why you've been so successful teaching so many good saxophone players. And, you know, in terms of, yeah, I mean, when you say actually that you have taught some really, really terrific saxophone players, I believe you because, you know, a lot of trumpet pedagogy is incredibly relevant for playing saxophone. For whatever reason, our instrument, saxophone that is just young enough that we don't, like, that hasn't been as ingrained and established in the way that we teach. But when you say that, like, oh yeah, it makes sense to me, like blending all of those registers and you know, making stuff happen in terms of your air. And the way that you utilize it, like all of those things, I just think it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Because the way we utilize air with the trumpet is very much like the way you utilize air for the saxophone. And then you've got to depend on it. You got to make sure you're relaxed, and you know, to get a flow. I mean, it just takes relaxation. You know, we get so tense when we play that, you know, it's like it's a constant. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like it's just a constant effort to get rid of it.
Absolutely. And you know, I say this all the time, particularly to my students who are playing either really technical passages or who are improvising. Just like, what people think that, you know, when you play, like, let's just say something that seems really intense, or like a really, really fast tune or something, you know, like if you're playing over like an inner urge, people just have this idea that you need to be so tense, and that when Joe was playing it, he was, you know, really tense and really like really playing hard. And that's not at all the case. Like when you listen to Joe Henderson play over that tune, you know, his sound is, to me at least, just kind of floating.
Did you ever hear him live?
Yes.
I've heard him live, like, you know, several times.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, the last time I heard him live, Ira Coleman was playing bass, a friend of mine from Berkeley, and he had a young lady playing piano. Anyway, the rhythm section was so quiet. They were intense. They were quiet.
Yeah.
And that allowed him to play those tunes.
Yeah.
With such ease, because the rhythm section didn't push him out of the way.
Yeah.
And that, you know, like if a rhythm section can just, that's why I love Rich Thompson at Eastman. I mean, I can interact with him when he played, and actually I learned how to interact really by playing with him.
Yeah.
He'd give me something, I would take something, I would give him something, and we would, I mean, it was music, it was a conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some drummers in Grand Rapids who can do that, but I couldn't really do that, you know, the last time I was here. But, you know, I learned, you know, like when I was with that little big band, I learned a lot of things besides just being a leader. I really learned how to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And Rich had a lot to do with that. And playing conversationally is really important to me. And like having the right dynamic, having the right guys. You know, I mean, putting a small group together, it takes a lot of thought. You got to have the right guys. So you know, like whatever you want to create, I mean, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
So I mean, that takes a little bit of thought.
Yeah, just a little bit. And I often find, you know, when I'm putting together a group, I almost spend as much time thinking about who the band's going to be as I am about, you know, what music we're going to play and all the other things that one thinks about. Yeah, completely agree with you. Just it's so important.
Yep.
So we're nearing kind of the end of our time here. And I just wanted to kind of mention you've got this kind of new gig that you're working with David Didescalou over at West Michigan Band. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I wish I could. I mean, I haven't really spoken to Dave yet. He's asked me to be a clinician for the for his store, which I was more than delighted to take him up on. He's one of the. I just feel like he's the one guy in Grand Rapids that I just feel like he's in touch with who a musician is, what he wants to do, and how he, you know, he'll. I love this thing he does where he salvages all these old instruments.
Oh yeah, Middleton's, yeah.
Yeah, because he finds so many treasures in that.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to do it. Honestly, if anybody were to go through there and ask for me or somebody or one of his other clinicians, I'd be more than happy to come out. You know, he can also, I mean, that fee that maybe he would come up with could also start bring the quartet out or the little big band.
Yeah.
I would love the little big band. One of the things I want to do this year, I got to talk to Jake about it. We got to see how this pandemic is going, but I'd like to bring Rob Pardon in from North Texas State.
Yeah.
And have him play lead and have him do some of the soloists with my little big band and have him do some clinics with the high schools. And gosh, he is really a fine soloist.
Yeah.
And he's a really even better lead trumpet player. And he's even a better trumpet player on top of that. I mean, plays all the summer Chicago Symphony concerts, plays in the Milwaukee Symphonies, very high in demand. Because, man, gosh, he's got iron chops. He's just a great player. He's a great guy, too. And so we've talked about it. And, you know, that's something I'd like to see. I'd like to get involved with some schools here in West Michigan and bring Rob in and bring some other people in. I'd like to bring Hendrik in.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I just I was really glad to get something like that with Dave. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just want to do something special with schools. I just don't want to I don't want to blow my own horn. I want to make music and create music. And anyway, this seems like one of the opportunities we might be able to do that.
That's awesome. Well, you heard it here. Rick Holland is now available through West Michigan Band, terrific local business. And he's available on his own. You can go to his website, which is rickhollandmusic.com, and check out more, find out more about his projects. Rick, thank you so much for being here, and I hope everybody out there has a great night.
Thank you.